everyone. So I hope everyone is doing well. Today we will be doing this rhododendron. I'll be drawing it on watercolor paper because this drawing will be a preparation for a watercolor that I'll be doing in a little bit. But you can do this with flowers from your own garden. This is figuring out how to get these complex shapes to look right when you're trying to recreate them. You might call it botanical illustration, whatever. But getting your drawing right, for starters, is going to be important. With this shape, we can see that there's a variety of flowers coming off of one central ball. So rather than doing all the individual flowers first, we are going to be drawing the large mass first, the ball of the ball shape first, and then we're going to lay in the flowers as we go. So I hope you enjoy this tutorial, and we will go ahead and get started. Okay, so I've got a few options for drawing materials here. I've got an HB pencil, a 4B pencil, and an ebony pencil. Because I know that I'm going to be doing watercolor later on this, I'm going to start with the HB. I also have my kneaded eraser here as well. Okay, so I've got these ready to go. So I'm going to look at my shape, and I've got my the top of my rhododendron, the bottom of my vase, and the top of the vase is kind of in the middle of the picture. So I'm going to lay in where I want the top and the bottom to be. So I'm just going to go ahead and just say, okay, I want the top there, I want the bottom maybe here. Okay, and then I'm going to look for the middle because I know that that's going to be approximately where the vase is going to, the top of the vase is going to be. Okay. So right now I'm just looking at how I can divide this up to make it look like make sense. Okay. The vase is a little bit over here. The flower is a little bit over here. So I want to make sure that the vase is symmetrical and the flower is going to be a little bit over this direction. I may be cutting off some of the leaves that are splayed out, but that's totally fine. So because I know that the rhododendron, the flowers are arranged in kind of this ball shape. So all I'm going to do at the very start is just arrange this ball shape. So I'm just kind of come in here and just kind of make that ball shape. Okay. And the way that I sketch is I do a series of overlapping lines. So I'm not trying to do one single line around because I want to approximate my shape first. So I'm just kind of giving myself a kind of a generalization of where this ball shape is going to be, and I can still edit it. That's what erasers are for. So I've got that going. I'm going to sketch in where I think where the pot is, and again, it's a little bit off from the center. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to make the midline of the vase, because I know that the vase is going to be symmetrical. I want to make sure that it's I have a midline for that. So all of this initial sketching I call scaffolding. So this is stuff that's going to be taken down. This is going to be erased when I'm done with the picture. But it's kind of like scaffolding around, in a building. Is you're creating a shape around the building, and you use these structures and then you take them away after you're all done with them. So I'm actually going to sketch in the shape of the vase, even though I know there's going to be leaves overlapping it. I'm going to sketch this in just so that I have a symmetrical shape. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this. And maybe need to come down here a little bit more. That's okay. So we've got these. And again, you know, I will approximate where the pencil lines are going to go, and as I develop the picture, I will go ahead and increase the accuracy of these. Alright, so also for these elliptical shapes, even though you can't see the back of the vase, I'm still going to sketch in these shapes just so that I have a good idea of the structure of this vase. Okay. If I want to, I can go ahead and take a ruler, and I can just measure from the center line. So, so here, you know, if I say, let's say the center line is at 6 here. I've got 2.5 and 2.5. That'll give my an accurate center there. Okay, same thing for here. And if I find a midpoint here that I like, I'll go ahead and kind of do a measurement. So I'm going to do 2 inches from each side. Okay, and that way I can really make sure to get the symmetry correct. I apologize for any noise. Again, this is the middle of the quarantine, so we have neighbors and such. So I apologize for any of that. All right. So we've got again our midpoint here. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with the top here. So we've got 2, we've got and 1. Okay, so we know that, you know, these dots are halfway from the center point. One thing you'll notice when you're doing something with a series of ellipses, this part here is closer to my my line of sight when I'm looking at the vase. This is down further, so this ellipsis will be a lot flatter. This oval will be a lot flatter than this oval, because as you go down, this is this will look flat, and then as your sight line goes down, the angle changes, and you'll see more of the ellipse. Okay, so again, I'm just going to go ahead and sketch in the shape of the vase here. Okay. And it doesn't have to be completely accurate. You know, this is more of a approximation of the vase, but your viewer will be able to see if it's not symmetrical. So you can go ahead and just. And if you notice, my pencil is, I've actually sharpened my pencil, so I've whittled it down so that it has a very long point, and that way I can hold my pencil away from, I can hold it by the tip here, and just give me a better angle for doing the sketch. So again, I've got this down here, I've got the base, okay, other little lip here that I can bring around here. Okay. And then also tap here. So I'm always working from the large shapes to the small shapes. So I did the big parts of this face first, and now I'm going to go in and do any of the little, lips and other bumps and stuff that you might find on this face. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start just doing some shaping here. And I'm looking at the vase that I've got sitting up here. I know that I'm going to have some leaves and stuff, so I'm going to actually leave the place that the leaves are going to be overlapping. I'm going to leave that not quite finished yet, just so just because I don't feel like I'll need to finish those. So I'm just going to go ahead and just kind of get this in here. And this face has a kind of a decorative lip here, so I'm just going to go ahead and just kind of sketch this in. It's just kind of a decorative element on this face, this particular face. So I'll just sketch that in. Again, I don't have to worry too much about this side because the flower's overlapping it, but I will put it in on this side here. Now, one trick that you can do if you're not sure, and even if you are sure, if you think that you've got the symmetry right, that's fine, but this is always a good idea to do no matter what. Anytime you have, even a drawing that's not symmetrical, even if it's just like a person or something like that, I would always suggest that you take your picture to a mirror, hold it up in the mirror, and take a look at it, because it will fool your brain into seeing the picture fresh, and you may see some mistakes that you might not have caught otherwise. So yeah, make sure that you go ahead and take your picture to a mirror, hold it up, and just kind of give it a good look over. Okay. All right. Alright, so I've got my vase mostly set in. I want to start looking at the flowers, okay? And so I've got my big, ball of where the flower's going to be. I'm going to edit this just a smidge just to just because now that I've got the base put in, I'm rethinking where I want this. And what I want to do is kind of generally start placing where the flowers are going to go. So, like, I see a flower here, so I'm just going to do like little circles and ovals to kind of just start placing some of these flowers. Because they're kind of trumpet shaped, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of sketch in the general shape, but I'm not worried about the shape of the petals or anything yet. Right now I just want to get the general shape in, just so that I know where each flower is going to go. Okay, so this is just to get these laid in here. Each flower is kind of pointing in a different direction. So, yeah, we'll just get these laid in. Okay, that one. Okay. And you know, we will have some overlap on flowers, so you know, that way we'll just kind of get the sense. Now, because this is a ball shape, think of it kind of like a soccer ball. You know, each of these flowers is pointing in a different direction, so you're not going to have the petals all even and coming at you in the same way. So so I'm going around this, and I will be having the flowers pointing in the different directions that they go. Okay, and again, this is a rhododendron. But this will apply to a lot of the flowers you'll see in your garden. Okay. Alright, so I've got my basic layout of flowers. I'm just going to go ahead and lay in some leaves just to kind of figure out where they're going. I'm going to lay in the central vein of some of these leaves first, and then I'll go ahead and make the leaf shape. Again, with everything that you see in your garden, pay attention to the actual shapes you see rather than what you think you see. You know, I want this to you know, be this rhododendron, not just a rhododendron, right? So I'm just going to go in and just lay in the shapes of the leaves and such. Here, that's one stem. We've got another stem coming this way. Again, you know, I'm looking at this whole idea of scaffolding, so I'm just drawing guidelines first, and then I'll go in and refine them once I decide whether or not I want to keep them in those locations. Okay, so. And you know, you can move things around. You can change how you're drawing and stuff, and that's totally fine. But you do want to keep the sense that this is a specific flower rather than, you know, just a generic representation of one. So. The other reason is that if I put the leaves anywhere, I won't have any like guideposts. So because I'm doing this very specifically, I'm going, okay, so this leaf is right underneath this flower right here, and this will give me guideposts that I can do comparisons on when I'm doing the final final drawing, because that way I can kind of compare the distance to different points on this flower. So I'm just gonna okay. So got that. There's a this one. Probably call it, but it's gonna go off now. No. Let's keep that. Okay. You can see I'm still holding my pencil pretty far out. So that comes up there. Yes. I want to get everything sketched out first, lightly sketched out first before I make any final decisions. Because that way I can always change portions of my drawing if I need to. Okay. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to start looking at some of the flowers now. So I'm going to start with this one here, and I'm going to start by where I see the where the inside starts trumpeting out here. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of start doing the shapes that I see here. And it might be easier just to go ahead and mark in where you might see the pistils or stamens on the flowers, because that'll give you a good idea for the center point. I'm just going to go ahead and do that to all the flowers, just going to give myself the indication of pistils or stamens, just so that I can have a decent idea of where everything goes. And you'll notice that with foreshortening, some of they might look just like dots, others might look like much longer lines. So just draw what you see. Okay. This one. You can also do this with colored pencil if you want. So, you know, if you're planning on colorizing your picture, you know, anytime that you feel like you're ready to start using colored pencils or whatnot, you're welcome to do that as well. I'm Another thing to remember is, like I said, this is a sphere, you know, so even though there's all this detail to the sphere, this is still a sphere. The light is coming in from this side here, so it's all this area is going to be lighter than over here when I finally do paint this in. So keep that in mind as well as you're painting anything. So this is. Okay. So again, now I'm going to go ahead and just sketch in the petal shapes here. You always want to make sure that you're looking at your subject. So I'm continuing to go back to my subject, and that's where all my information is going to be. So I'm just going back to my subject, looking at it, estimating the shapes that I see. There will be some petals that are foreshortened, and that's totally fine. Okay, I'm doing the ones that are most that are facing me the most clearly first. Then I'll go back and do the ones around the edges. There's going to be some flowers that overlap, so just take it, look at each one individually. Okay. You'll probably want to go in later on and just darken everything up, firm everything up here. this one. And this is a very complex shape, so you do not need to do something quite so complex. You know, just go ahead and pick something from your garden that that inspires you. But again, you can use the same ideas of looking for the big shapes first, and then going in and sketching what you see. Okay, so we're getting there here. Okay. And like I said, it's important to get the locations of your shapes, because I'm always comparing, you know, how close is this flower to this flower, what's the angle of this flower and that flower. So, you know, if you need to use those waypoints, you need to make sure that everything's pretty much in the correct place. So having everything where it should be is really important. And things like portraits and stuff, those can be very hard, but the more you practice on like still life like this, the easier it will be to do your sketching, to see those points. So the more often you practice this, the better you're going to get in general. So, okay, so got that. At this point, you know, I'm getting towards the end of the laying of these petals. I'm being a little bit more, I'm guessing a little bit more than I had earlier, which is fine, but just kind of getting these in here. And like I said, I will go ahead and I'll go ahead and get these laid in a little bit more darkly in a few minutes. It's really easy to get lost in something like this too. You know, you're doing okay. So where am I? Where's the flower, etc., etc. So, so you know, make sure that you've got your waypoints correct, because, like I said, it's really easy to get lost. Okay, so I'm gonna say that the lay-in for this is pretty much done. So I'm gonna go ahead and see. Okay, like I said, this is gonna be for a watercolor that I'll be doing later on. So I'm not gonna do any shading or anything like that with the pencil, but I do want to kind of make sure my lines are defined for that. So yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and start finessing my lines. And then I will be taking an eraser later on to clean everything up. So. And this is the, you know, if there's any changes that you need to make, you can go ahead and do that now as well. So hold this up a little bit, and I'm gonna kind of alter the space just a smidge. Oftentimes when you're laying in, doing this final lay-in, you'll realize, oh, wait a second, this line should be here, this needs to move over here, and that's totally fine. The nice thing about pencil is you can erase. So go ahead and, you know, if there's anything that you need to erase, go ahead and do that. and just kind of firm up the flowers that I see. So. And I'm still using the HB pencil. Again, if I was doing this just as a drawing, I'd be switching different pencils to get different values and such. But with this, I want to, because I'm going to be watercoloring this later on, I want to kind of, I don't want to do any shading or anything on this today. And because I've made sure to lay out each individual flower earlier, I can just kind of look and see which one I need to look at, and then just kind of pay attention to that as I'm doing these shapes. Okay. there'll be some that you just kind of approximate, and that's okay. Okay, so I've got the basic shape laid in. I'm just going to go ahead and clean it up with the eraser. Again, anything that I used as like scaffolding lines, this is the time that I can erase those and just kind of, clean it up all together. Make your final decisions on what you want to keep and what you want to get rid of. Okay. And for your own picture, you're welcome to go ahead and shade it as you like. Tweak it if you need to. And, make it whatever you prefer. Clean up the angles just a little bit here. So sometimes it helps to even invert this, so you can see by inverting, all of a sudden I'm noticing that the symmetry is off on this, so I'm just going to go ahead and just clean that up a little bit here. Symmetry is probably one of the most important things to have in something like a vase, because your viewer can really see when you've not got the symmetry right. So yeah, go ahead and make sure that you've got it right. Take it to a mirror, all of that. So it's a little bit better. Yeah, just make sure that your symmetry is always as best as you can get it. And anywhere that I've got overlap that needs to be cleaned up, it's always good to get. Okay. Alright, I'm just going to do just a look over just to see if there's anything else I want to kind of tweak a little bit. I want to bring this a little bit further out here. Okay. Alright, I think I'm going to call this done for now. Like I said, this is, I was doing this picture in preparation for a watercolor, but this will give you an idea of how you can prep your own work for any kind of painting that you plan to be doing. So, so even if you're doing like oils or acrylics or something like that, you'll want to get your drawing down first like this, and you can then trace it onto whatever board you've got, and take it from there. So I hope you enjoyed this. Have a wonderful rest of the day, and I will talk to you later.